John Dykstra, he's a genius. He's the smartest guy in the business.
John Dykstra is, and he'll hate this, right, because it'll make him seem old. He's kind of like the father of visual effects.
See what I mean, though?
John Dykstra can build things in his computer that he assures us look better than anything that could be created by any creative entity on this planet or the universe, like God.
Give me a badass shot.
Well, give me 10 minutes.
John basically gets to do whatever he wants. He comes in, he moves some people around, gets some people with some balls and some green screens. You always sort of think, why do I have to watch that ball? Then says some stuff, and we just nod a lot. And then we kind of go, that's John Dykstra.
All right, so this time we're going to do this with a tilt, and then we'll have it.
John Dykstra is the top of the business, so as far as the effects, he got that.
I think the challenge with any movie that has a lot of effects is to find a way to make them realistic. And when you're flying a superhero around, it's about, you know, creating a CG version of Will Smith in this case that is plausible and believable and can move, you know, with proper human motion.
It's a combination of real live action and then real live effects and then visual effects on top. So you're using three different, say, media to get the end result.
It's coming to you from many different sources at the same time, intellectually, viscerally, you know, visually.
It wasn't a stylized superhero movie. It was more of a movie about real people that happen to have a superhero in it.
Who's this?
Hancock.
That's right.
Pete is basically asking us for these traditional superhero effects, but on a really intimate scale. It's much more contained, but yet still needs that same impressive feel.
I think that's one of the things that's most interesting about this story. He flies Mach 0.75 through Los Angeles in a sweatshirt, which is a challenge. And keeping it consistent and keeping it, quote, real, which is Pete's primary concern, is that the stuff look real and creditable, and making him do stuff that is incredible, that's the hard part. And yet, at the same time, make it so that the person watching feels as though it actually happened is the challenge.
And isn't in a suit, you know, as Superman and Spider-Man and Batman are. So those, you know, are potentially a little bit more forgiving. But when you have a real human character with normal street clothes, you have to be even more careful.
His style would be considered fast and loose. And it's more about getting from A to B than it is about looking stylish.
It's more of a challenge for the animators, I think, because they're used to doing perfect, smooth, sweeping, graceful, stylized arcs. And now this is basically this drunk, belligerent superhero just plowing through whatever's in his way. We do cyber scans of the actors, and what that gives us is their geometry and their shape. When we have that character flying around or jumping or doing whatever they're doing, and then we also get scans of their heads separately doing different expressions.
So if you can just put that on in a way that will not hit any other markers.
She's your queen!
So what we're doing is we're going to photograph the actors in a lighting environment where we get all of that based on their real skin. So the thickness of the flesh, how close to the bone things are, all that stuff we get in our photography. It's a sample of real life as opposed to recreating real life in a simulation. Flying through the buildings, a left, a right. Oh no, here's one right in your way, up over the top. What we do is we photograph the actor and the range of expressions the way they interpret what's written on the page. And so what you end up with is, you know, Will Smith's version of anger, which is great. Flying along, grab the roof, rip off, toss it away. And finally, that's good. So that's a component that we use, and we can mix that with surprise, and we can mix that with fear, or we can mix that with joy, and you end up with being able to create a range of expressions. Now, for the most part, our characters, because we're using the computer-generated characters primarily for the action, the things that would be impractical for a human being to do, we don't need to have them do a lot of dialogue. One of the problems with visual effects films is if you use the technology that exists at the time you begin the film, you're usually obsolete by the time you release the film. So you have to go into it making assumptions about what you're going to be able to invent. So this is going to take a minute, and then once we do that, we'll just be able to cycle through stuff and go further.
So what you'll see behind me is Light Stage 5, and this is a device for capturing how a person's face reflects light.
Expression 1, here we go. 3, 2, 1.
Actors are pretty close to losing their jobs entirely. John Dykstra said that the toughest thing is still skin to replicate. So that's what's keeping SAG from a collective sort of sobbing session. You know, because skin's kind of translucent.
So when light shines on it, it not only reflects off of its surface, it reflects into it, and then it's diffused and comes through like a light source. And that's true dependent upon how much skin there is over bone or how much muscle tissue is beneath, whether it's fat or muscle. And that all changes the nature of the light that is reflected and refracted by your face or any other part of your body. So that's why skin's so hard to do.
Has 156 light-emitting diodes at all the corners and vertices of this big geodesic structure here, and they're synchronized to these high-speed digital cameras. So if a person sits inside of there, in a very short period of time, you'll get images of them lit from every different direction that light can come from. And that's the perfect kind of data set that you need if you want to create a digital version of that actor that reflects light the same way that the real person does, and thus looks exactly like the real person when they're going through all of their stunt performances.
We get all of that muscular information by using the real actor as opposed to creating each muscle individually and then telling the computer to move it and recreating the semblance that way. And it's the same thing with flesh.
Scared.
Why is it scary?
I mean, as someone that came up as an actor, you know, to think that you guys can sit there and create human beings.
Yeah, but they don't have any soul unless you have somebody who...
Dude, I've dated a lot of actresses. Don't kid yourself.
Don't say that.
Don't kid yourself. I mean, there's not a lot of soul.
I caught glimpses of the way that Peter Berg's mind works, and I still wanted to work on the movie.